Coming up this hour on American Graduate Day, award-winning NJTV news anchor Mary Alice Williams and singer, dancer, and actress Zendaya.
Hey, what's up? It's Zendaya here, and I'm so proud to be a part of American Graduate Day. I love working with Get School because they're a website that actually, allows kids to, have a place where they can go and kind of help them through all the difficulties and things that they face with school. And, it's never easy being a young person and getting your education. So I love what they work with and what they do. And actually last year I was able to go to Sacramento and be a principal for a day as a reward for one of the schools. I love being a part of it. It's so amazing. I even, super cool, got to be in Times Square on a billboard as part of their Graduates Day Times Square situation. And so I had my face, my senior picture, everywhere for the world to see. And it was very inspiring, I think, for me and a lot of other young people to kind of see how cool it is to get your education, how cool it is to graduate. So, Get Schooled is the bomb, and thank you guys so much for having me. And that's pretty much it. I'm Zendaya, and I am an American Graduate Champion. Mwah!
Hello, I'm Mary Alice Williams, and I'm proud to be a part of my first American Graduate Day. We just heard from Zendaya about the importance of getting kids into the classroom with graduation as a key priority. Over this next hour, we're going to look at how to prevent students from dropping out of school, and if they do, how to reconnect and how to help them toward graduation. Earlier in the program, General and Mrs. Powell provided their personal insights on dropout prevention. America's Promise Alliance, founded by the Powells, is a tireless advocate for at-risk students. Their latest initiative is called Don't Quit on Me, and here is one powerful and personal story from that program.
I feel like life is like an outlet. The moment you plug in with the wrong fuse, boom. First day of school, my father was like, whoever hit you, you better hit him back. You know what I'm saying? And I went to school and got suspended for throwing a chair at a teacher or something like that. That was wild, man. I had a very bad attitude problem. I didn't give a hell about anything. School, man, get out. I ain't going no damn school. Because I felt like wasn't nobody helping me. There's never nobody there to tell you, okay, it's going to be cool. I think you can do this. How's your music thing going? If I'd have had, more support, I probably would be somewhere right now.
There are myriad reasons students drop out, and the challenge is to find myriad solutions. One reason for dropping out is student disengagement, which can be triggered by not having access to the right education tools or the embarrassment of not being able to afford the school supplies or even basics such as clothing. Our next group is addressing a critical part of complex issues by providing the essential tools needed for education. The Kids in Need Foundation provides free school supplies to schools with students most in need. Free school supplies, no small thing. With us today are Leah Jones, a fourth grade teacher at Life Prep School in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Dave Smith, Executive Director, Kids in Need Foundation. Welcome and thank you both for joining us. Dave, let's start with you. You started with Kids in Need Foundation 20 years ago at its very beginning. What grabbed your heart about that, fulfilling that need, and what is the purpose of it now?
I think the biggest realization at that time was that kids didn't have the supplies. We all came from a background as kids where you didn't think about that. I go back and try to remember when I was a kid, did my parents give them to us? Did the school supply it to us? But then we visited some schools and we began to see how kids were going to school without those basic classroom supplies. It would be like any one of us going to our job every day and not having the basic tools. How can you learn and succeed in the classroom if you don't have those supplies?
Leah, your job is to teach, to instruct, maybe even to inspire. you dig into your own pocket and pay for the supplies that your kids need, right?
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, there's a need. And without doing so, my students can't be successful in the classroom. And I can't imagine being able to do my job well if my students don't have what they need. And if that means digging into my own funds, then that's what I do.
How much does that cost you? How much do you pay?
It varies year to year. When I first started, it was probably the hardest year for me. When I started at Life Prep, I had next to nothing in the room, no furniture, no books, not a single chapter book. I think I spent over $3,000 starting my classroom the first year, and it probably averages about $2,000 still, but there are additional needs as far as school supplies. There's uniforms and things like that as well.
How do you use Kids in Need?
I use Kids in Need. It helps build my supplies with crayons and markers and things my students need to be successful in the classroom. It helps my students. It levels the playing field for my students. It helps give them exactly what they need.
Dave, keeping students engaged, supporting teachers is critical to stopping a cycle of dropouts. What results have you seen from the Foundation's work so far?
Well, there are about 16 million kids in the United States today who live in poverty. We're able to touch, last year, about 4.2 million of those students. So a long way to go. And it's such a rewarding thing to see what those supplies can do in the classroom. We think there's a tangible benefit of the kids now having the basics, a notebook, a pencil, an eraser, or a crayon. But the intangible benefit, somebody's giving something to you. You don't know them. You may never know them. But that's a separate message there, I think, altogether with that.
Those are huge numbers. How do you identify the schools? I gather it's not just in St. Paul, Minnesota, where it started, but all over the country.
It's a national program. We have what we call teacher resource centers, where teachers in low-income schools can go to shop, and I put quotation marks around shop because the supplies are free, to items to take back to the classroom. We use a benchmark of about 70% of the students on the free reduced lunch program as qualifications for go there.
And why do you use that benchmark?
Just because we want to start with the highest number first. So we want to take the 100%, and there's many, many schools in the United States that have 100% students on free reduced lunch program. So we come down from that further to help us reach all of those students eventually.
Technology has changed what goes on in the classroom and the tools that kids are going to have to be armed with as they go forward. It goes way beyond pencils and crayons, right?
It sure does. Being able to bring technology in the classroom is, obviously key too. But if my students don't have a notebook and pencil to write with, we got to start somewhere with the basics, and so we concentrate on making sure they have that.
Dave, you partner with various organizations, right?
We do. We partner with organizations that help us provide the infrastructure. These teacher resource centers I mentioned, we have 36 of them across the country. We partner with an organization like food banks, for example, in a number of locations. We're reaching the same constituency. They provide the infrastructure, in some cases staffing. We provide the product, the mentoring, and things that goes along with that.
Why did you get interested in starting something like this?
Like I said, it started about 20 years ago, and I'll never forget, we took a tour in Chicago. We rode on a bus around a low-income area, and we each sat next to a student who was going to a summer school program who didn't have anything really. And we took them to a place, and it was literally a bare-bones warehouse. And each kid got a notebook and a pencil that day. And I'll never forget thinking, my kids would not have been excited about this at home, but these kids were just overjoyed. I now have something that's my own. It belongs to me. Maybe for the first time in my life, it's something I can use.
Have you any idea how much money you've invested in this over the 20 years?
Well, we raised funds, for sure, and we're very proud of the fact that 98% of the revenue we get goes back into our programs. But we've given away about $700 million worth of school supplies in the last 20 years.
That is really impressive. And I gather that it is the difference for you, Leah, between making it or not with these kids.
Absolutely. There's been several years where without that shopping trip to Kids in Need, I don't have supplies. It's what keeps my classroom going.
In the areas that are have the poorest schools, the highest group of kids with eligible for reduced feeding programs, they've got 3 problems that are bigger than education. And so you walk into a classroom every day looking at all the consequences of poverty. on these kids, whether it's violence at home and a feeling of insecurity, or no support for learning, no food. How do you handle all of those things, and do you do them in order?
That's a good question. Which one do you put first, right? It's difficult. You try to meet the need, the first one that you can. What can you do now? If it's a matter of they don't have a coat and we're going outside for recess, can I meet that need now? Do you have groceries at home? Can I do that after school? Can I go to grocery shopping after school today? You just do the best you can to meet that need that's in front of you at that moment.
And do you often take the kids to the supermarket to get food?
I've gone grocery shopping after school, yes, for families, and I make a quick stop on the way home. And I had a family last year whose brother got in a horrible car accident, and I had walked her home one day after school and noticed there was nothing in her home. No furniture, groceries, and so after school you make a quick stop and you bring a couple bags of groceries. So.
Why do you keep doing this, Leah?
I do it because I love it. I do it because it feels right. It feels good, and I think it makes a difference. And it's important to my kids. It's important to them, and I see the difference that it makes every day. I see it, and you can't deny the difference that it makes. So.
And Dave, what would you say to every teacher who's like Leah?
First of all, thank you. You have a tremendous job. We entrust you with our kids every day, our kids who are the biggest asset we have as a country, our future. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Smith, Leah Jones, thanks for being with us. I'm confident that they're going to make a huge difference in schools and students. Doesn't everyone remember their fourth grade teacher? I do. It's my favorite. What a great year. Thank you for the work you do every day and for adding your voices to American Graduate Day. Now, the critical classroom contributions from the Kids in Need Foundation provides teachers with essential tools to help students explore and perform at ever higher levels. It also empowers teachers to do what they do best, teach. Our next American Graduate champion, a teacher, refused to surrender to his really brutal childhood before traveling from Central Africa to Gillette, Wyoming, where he's become a deeply appreciated person in the hearts of both students and peers.
I was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I was one of the fortunate ones to go to good schools. I had this big dream, I want to be a medical doctor. Then the war started and it just changed everything. I was captured, became a child soldier and separated from my family, and that was the end of that dream. But deep inside I knew that I was better than this. And that is that hope that kept me alive.
You know, I think the world of Bertine. He's a very, very good man. He relates to his students on a very personal level, meaning I'm your teacher, but let me guide you along in your life also.
My 2014 year was probably the worst year of my school career. There was a point where I just dropped out of school, and Bahij was always calling me on the phone being like, hey, where are you? Why aren't you at school? He went to my house one time and he was like, why aren't you at school? Come on, let's go. He's influenced me so much in my life that I want to teach. I want to also be able to help students because of him.
I could see where Bertine could have let his past make him very bitter. That's not at all what he is.
Bertine's amazing journey included surviving severe adversity, then overcoming distrust and resentment to create his own positive path. Our next group is also taking steps to create a similar pathway to success. Joining us now from WCNY in Syracuse, New York, to tell us more is Susan Kennedy and her guest from the organization 100 Black Men of Syracuse. Welcome to American Graduate Day, Susan.
Thank you so much, Mary Alice. It's been a wonderful day, but we've been watching all the other great interviews. Wonderful things happening there and wonderful things happening right here. I'd like you to meet Vincent Love. You're the president of 100 Black Men, the Syracuse chapter, yes. And Anthony Griffin, Alfred University student, made it through high school and all the way into college. So welcome to you both.
Thank you, Sue. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And Anthony, I wanted to start with you because really, you weren't always such a great focused student. Tell us about the Anthony before.
Well, I was the type of kids that got sent home, sent out of class, parents called, they just couldn't connect with me. I didn't like school. I just didn't want to be there. I didn't see a point of school.
Right, you didn't see the focus. And homework, were you doing your homework?
I mean, I did it when I felt like doing it, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And then something changed, Vincent. You met him. What were your impressions of Anthony when you first met him?
Well, Anthony wasn't unlike many of the young men that have come to our organization, and we saw Anthony with a lot of potential, as we see all the young people that we work with. And so we begin the process of just instilling in them some basic life skills, just talking to them to help change their thinking about education and about the potential for their life. And that's what our program really focuses on in the work we do with the young people.
What type of programs were you in, Anthony, and that, Vincent, you can tell us too, chime in on, that really turned you around?
Oh, the mentoring program that the 100 Black Men has, bringing in all the different careers, like people that have come in with doctor that work in a hospital or a lawyer or something like that. Like, I didn't want to get in trouble. I wanted to be like that doctor or that lawyer or that engineer. And I was just questioning myself one day. I was like, how can I do that? How can I get to where that person is? And then the people they brought in, they were kind of like me. They weren't perfect students back then. I was like, I still have a chance. So all I have to do is stop doing what I was doing then and change. That's it. It was
and that's the structure of our program.
Right.
What our whole focus was is to expose our young people to different people, different possibilities that are out there for them that they may not have thought about at first. And so our organization consists of men from all walks of life. We have some men who are retired, some who are professionals, some who are business owners. And we just get the young men together in a group. We use a group mentoring model. Okay. And we'll have 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 of our men who will come in and we hold what we call a mentoring session with the young men. Give them an opportunity to talk with us. We don't just come in and talk to them, but we want to also hear what's going on with them.
So they're learning all about where else you can be and how you can get there. Also specific things, how to dress, right, Anthony?
Yeah, we have to stand up. In every meeting, we have to stand up and introduce ourselves, tell them our name, where we go to school, our age, and our grade, and we have to say it loud and clearly for everyone to hear. We have to stand up straight. If we're going to an event, we have to wear our tie and suit. We have to look professional.
And it's just simple skills like that, teaching them that we know will benefit them later on in life. The sessions that we have with them, the simple exercises that we do with them, having them stand up and talk, is to teach them to be comfortable with public speaking, how to present themselves to people, how do they dress, making eye contact with other people, just giving them the self-confidence to present themselves to others. We know that those are going to be vital skills that they'll need to be successful in life.
And you've been putting those skills to use, Anthony, right? You said to me before the show, you're a leader in your community at college right now.
I mean, one of the RAs actually came up to me and was like, well, you need to quiet down. I'm coming at you, I'm yelling at you, because if you quiet down, everyone else will quiet down. I feel like I'm a leader. I feel like I'm a leader to a lot of people, and I feel like it's because of the 100 Black Men.
Wow, proud papa, it feels like over here, Vincent, right? I mean,
yes, it is. It makes me feel good. All of our members, we feel good when we can have an influence on young people like Anthony and just get them moving in the right path. And we don't really take credit, because when they come to us, we already see the potential. We know what Anthony and what other young people that we work with are able to do. We just try to give them that incentive, that little bit of push that they need to go out there and have success in life. And it's a good feeling. Anytime that we're able to move somebody in that direction, it's a great feeling.
And go ahead.
Well, I started in 8th grade, and I actually can feel the push. I can feel when I started moving in the right direction. I didn't have the same teachers every year. Some teachers left and went to other schools, and some teachers only knew me for a year. And they would be like, "You've changed a lot from last year. You've improved. You're not the same kid I knew last year."
Do you feel like you're the same kid?
I'm definitely not the same kid from 7th or 8th grade. I'm so different. Most of my friends see a difference in how I am. Like, I don't do the same things I used to do.
Describe the student Anthony today.
Student Anthony, I put work before anything. That's basically it. I put work before anything. Like, I would, before going out and having fun, I would try to get my homework done. If not, I would have to. I'm a type of student that needs to step away from the work for a little bit.
Right.
But
work first.
Mostly work first.
I think one of the things that we've tried to do, and what he's describing is that he has a little better focus now today, because many of our young people, they want to do better, but they really don't know. They don't know what direction to head. They don't know how to get started.
But with your help, they do.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy to have you here, and we're so happy to have you all here with us on American Graduate Day. And thank you so much for joining us. Now back to you, Mary Alice.
Thank you, Susan. The volunteers guiding 100 Black men of Syracuse are another example of the legion of American graduate champions all across the country. All day long, we've been introduced to selfless people, inspiring organizations like theirs. One of the great things about the American Graduate Day is that organizations from all over the country get to meet for the first time and find ways to work together. Now let's go back to my colleague Lauren Wanko, who has two guests who just got to meet each other for the very first time. Lauren?
Thanks, Mary Alice. I'm here with Miguel Brito, Executive Director of Phillips Academy Charter School in Newark, New Jersey, the school that I mentor in, and Dave Smith of Kids in Need Foundation, who we just saw. Now, as Mary Alice said, we have a great opportunity to bring you both together. Now, Miguel, you thought that you were here to talk about the mentorship, but that's not the case, which is why I didn't give you any prep on this interview at all. Surprise, look at what we have here. Dave, tell us what this is.
This is an assortment of fun, exciting, colorful, basic school supplies. It all comes in a box, and the box, we call it a UB classroom pack, and it's enough basic items for a classroom of 30 students.
Miguel, how does that feel to be presented with this incredible box of supplies?
It feels wonderful. I think that it's just one more gift that the world has given us that we'll make good use of. But it's very, very exciting for our kids, some of which I see filming in the background.
Yes, hi guys. And just so everybody at home knows, there's a lot more than this box, right?
There is indeed, and we'll make sure that you get one of those classroom packs for each one of your classrooms too.
And do you see the need, Miguel, in your school? Are there students? I mean, supplies are expensive, as we just talked about in the earlier segment. Do you see that they just can't afford to bring them in?
Yes, and more, especially as a charter school now, that we really have parents in need and have a very difficult time buying their own supplies. And again, there's only so much public funding out there.
And so people understand the impact here. How many classrooms do you have?
Well, we have a total of 19 classrooms with 21 kids in each class. So these will come in very, very handy for us.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad that we could surprise you today. And for all of you at home, keep the conversation going on social media. #AmGrad. Follow American Graduate on Facebook and Twitter. And AmericanGraduate.org is our website. Thank you so much.
Preventing dropouts goes hand in hand with retaining and stimulating high school students. I'm Hari Srinivasan, and our conversation continues with an in-school group that uses the power of entrepreneurship to fire up the minds of students. NIFTY, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, inspires students from low-income communities to stay in school, identify business opportunities, and plan for successful futures. With us today are Maria Pinelli, Global Vice Chair of Strategic Growth Markets at EY and Chair of the Board for NIFTY, and Rodney Walker, a graduate of the Chicago NIFTY program. So, Rodney, I want to start with you. Kind of tell me and our audience a little bit of the kind of odds stacked up against you by the time you were in high school.
My mom had her first child at 13. 6 of my siblings had been in foster care as a result of my parents dealing with drug abuse and drug issues and things like that, and all of the experiences that came as a result of that.
So how do you survive that?
I think most kids don't. Only 3% of foster care children graduate from high school, according to national statistics. So, you know, there's no substitute for parents and parenting for children. And so a lot of us, unfortunately, don't make it through the system.
So what sparked your interest in this NIFTY program?
I just seen this one of the students in the NIFTY program come in with a big check. It was a big check. She had just won a business plan competition. I said, well, what is that about? And I asked her, I was like, what is this? She said, oh, I had just been in this NIFTY program, and we had a business plan competition, and you know, I won $2,000. And I said, oh, that sounds nice. And the next year I went into school, I think my GPA was like a 2.1, not enough to get into college. And they asked, you know, it's like, you have an extra class to take to graduate. What would you like that class to be? I said, I want to try this business class.
So Maria, your day job includes international politics, global economics. What attracted you to this program?
Rodney Walker attracted me to this program. You know, when I saw him present, I thought, my God, he's articulate. He believes in himself. He's confident. He's put together thoughts on a business model. It was moving. I was actually planning, you know, just to drop in, you know, pay my respects to the program. But I got so personally involved after seeing Rodney.
Did this change your relationship to what you were learning in the classroom?
NIFTY brought an entirely different approach to where you can take, you know, really what was your given passion, and to see there is meaning here in school. There's relevance here in these classes, because if you can perfect your craft and what you're passionate about through this program, you know, you can make those things work together. So they didn't change my circumstances. They didn't change my environment. The greatest thing that NIFTY did was they changed my mind. They changed my mind to where, you know, I woke up going to school thinking, why am I here? I went to school now thinking that I can make something of my future.
What's unique about this NIFTY process?
What's unique about it is it's a hands-on experience. It actually takes all of these academic skills that we're trying to build, you know, how to articulate your point of view, how to actually crunch the numbers to earn a profit, what it takes to build a cost of sale, how to communicate in a commercial setting, and really gives them a chance to really be hands-on with it. The kids that we touch, they do it out of necessity. I mean, we have some that are building businesses to help families supplement income, right? We're having some who are, you know, in classrooms, right, because it's a better environment than what they're used to. We have some that are doing it really for freedom, right? To try to find a better way out.
My NIFTY teacher told me that, remember that there's a million ways to make a million. And for a lot of students, we only see one avenue coming out of high school, especially growing up in the inner city like Chicago, which is that, you know, if you want to get out of poverty, if you want to get out of the inner city neighborhoods, you know, you either become a rapper, you become an athlete, or you sell drugs. And when you get involved in a program like NIFTY, they teach you skills that really give you a different level of thought.
You think about return on investment all day long, right? What's the return on investing in the Rodneys? Why does NIFTY sort of seem profitable in the long run?
Well, investing in people like Rodney is just a slam dunk, no-brainer. I mean, I have to tell you that developing an entrepreneurial mindset is just so critical for everyone, you know, especially youth. There's a huge incidence of youth unemployment. And employers today, even when they're looking to hire. So if you don't necessarily become an entrepreneur, just having that thought process, being able to apply technical skill and think outside the box is critical.
It gave me a new level of success. You can be on the platform with business leaders and to use education as leverage for your success. And I think that really sparked my interest in the NIFTY program, and it took me on this trajectory.
Instilling the educational part is a bonus, but what we're actually doing is really giving people some hope, self-belief.
Rodney and Maria, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The academic empowerment and personal confidence spawned by programs like NIFTY are one way organizations are effectively addressing the high school dropout rate. The work they do is beyond NIFTY. It's life-changing. When the moment is right, tell a young person about your life and career. It just might inspire them to do something wonderful. Stay with us as the discussion continues on American Graduate Day.
Hello, this is Elmo, and you're watching We at WJCT in Jacksonville, Florida are proud to be part of American Graduate, the opportunity to inspire and empower our educators.
Let's make it happen! Hi, it's Wendy Williams here. I'm really excited to be a part of American Graduate Day. Not having an education was not an option growing up in the Williams household. My parents definitely did not have to beg me, my brother and sister about going away to four-year university. Do something with your life. They both did something with theirs. They graduated 4 years and then they went on to have advanced degrees, my mom and dad. And my grandmother from the old school was a college graduate. The thing about education is that it does help prepare you for the real world in more ways than just the classroom. You gotta get out there. You gotta learn how to manage your time, what time to be for class, when the report is due. You see, these things help you during your matriculation. But once you get out into the real world, you've got to keep learning because success and education come in many forms. So become an American Graduate Champion. I have.
Welcome back to American Graduate Day from the Tisch WNET Lincoln Center Studios in New York. I'm Mary Alice Williams. Wendy Williams' supportive family gave her the focus and inspiration to excel academically and march to graduation. In addition to family influences, there are so many reasons students are compelled to leave school before graduation. One key factor is social anxiety, feelings of alienation. Entertainment superstar Lady Gaga and her mother, Cynthia Germanata, founded the Born This Way Foundation to support, encourage, and empower students. Next up, Hari Srinivasan opens the door to a revealing conversation about some of these emotional factors influencing the dropout rates.
Each year, far too many high school students drop out of the education system. Some students are pulled out, some fall out, and some are pushed out, too often by toxic social and school environments. I'm Hari Srinivasan. Our next guests are Dr. Robin Stern, Associate Director of the Center for Emotional Intelligence at Yale University, and Cynthia Germanata, who, along with her talented daughter Lady Gaga, founded the Born This Way Foundation to provide support for young people and encourage a kinder, braver world. So thank you both for joining us today to discuss this collaboration on the Emotion Revolution Initiative. So first, Cynthia, I want to ask, as a mom, why is the Born This Way Foundation important to you?
Oh, the Born This Way Foundation is vitally important, not only to myself and my daughter, but to young people all over the world. Growing up, my daughter had a very difficult time. Everything from, she was often humiliated or excluded by her peers. And this led to a lot of self-doubt, eventually anxiety and depression. And over the years, she's talked about this during her concerts. And as a mom, that used to worry me. But what I came to realize is that by sharing her story, she was actually healing. Mm-hmm. And the young people that were listening were healing because they were realizing that they weren't alone. So Born This Way Foundation was created to help young people, to support their mental wellness, their wellness in general, and to empower them to build kinder and braver communities.
Robin, you're on the forefront of studying social and emotional learning, so SEL. Kind of explain that and what emotional learning is.
The goal of social and emotional learning is to help you deal with your feelings wisely and effectively so that you can feel a sense of well-being in your life. People get anxious.
Right.
And they're not going to stop getting anxious over time. But what will change over time is their ability, if they master the skills of emotional intelligence, to deal in a more effective way with their anxiety, and that makes all the difference.
There's a direct link between learning that skill and performance in school. Right. Penn State just released a study that actually showed that if a kindergartner has better social and emotional skills, that they're more likely to graduate and have a job by the time they're 25 years old.
Robin, what is the idea of the Emotion Revolution Initiative? You have a phrase called the best self. Explain that.
Our high school program, which we're now piloting in several places around the country, really is anchored in asking students to bring their own thinking into what's going to happen for them in high school. So we're asking them to build a vision of where they want to be when they conclude high school, and to develop the goals that they personally want to work towards. And then using the skills of emotional intelligence and using their best self, they can then begin to think about, well, what are they going to do when they're derailed from pursuing their goals? What are they going to do when they're tempted to stay up all night and not study for an exam, but actually their goal is to be an honor student or to be a better student? So learning the skills of emotional intelligence and thinking through when they are going to make those choice points, very connected to your best self. And that's a really important program that we're now bringing to America's high schools.
It's that we haven't thought the paradigm through in saying that emotional intelligence is of equal value.
Schools today, rightfully so, focus on the hard skills like science and technology and math, but they often overlook emotions, which are so vital to the long-term success of an individual and of a young person. And research actually proves that young people who adopt these skills early on, they perform better in school and they actually have fewer issues.
Robin, what do you say to a teacher that wants to be able to figure out how to unlock what's behind the life of a student?
Kids need to be met where they are. So you're paying attention to your student in a classroom and you're noticing things. You notice that they seem disengaged. They're not making eye contact. They're not sitting with anyone at the lunchroom. They're not turning in their homework. And beginning to approach a student and asking the question of, hey, how are you? I'm noticing this and that about you, is a gateway to a further conversation.
And let's say, Cynthia, there's a student watching this conversation who's just on the cusp of turning away from school. What do you say to them?
I say to them, first of all, to be brave and ask yourself why you're feeling that way and try to understand what's bothering you, and don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, there's one person out there that cares that you should talk to. So, be brave, and there is somebody out there who's willing to talk to you, and there are resources available for young people.
So thank you for joining us, and good luck with the Emotional Revolution initiative.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, and join the revolution.
Yes, join the revolution.
All right. Helping a student better understand how to manage their emotions will create a better student and a better learning environment. In addition, it'll help keep students in school and help them graduate. In some cases, it may also change or even save a student's life. Visit us online and let's continue the American Graduate Day conversation. Stay with us.
As Hari indicates, the creation of a safe and welcoming place in school for students, that's critical. In our next Stories of Champions, we'll travel up to Fairbanks, Alaska, to meet a woman working to provide students with a safe and nurturing place beyond the classroom to allow them to focus in the classroom.
We started off as a counseling service, and we still provide counseling, but we kept hearing there needs to be an emergency shelter for kids, and we heard it from all sorts of different angles, and then at some point we just realized that somebody was us. That took us down this journey of providing shelter. We can have as many as 12 kids. When a youth is in school and they're wanting to stay in school, their focus during their school day should be on their schoolwork. It shouldn't be, where will I sleep tonight? Where will I eat? What will I get for dinner? All of that surviving becomes what's the most important thing for them, because school then becomes unimportant. It's just really about surviving. So that's something that's very dear to us. We want kids, we want to help take them out of that I've got to survive mode. And now I can focus back on school and staying in school. I feel like I'm just an ordinary person. 5 or 6 years ago, I didn't see this coming down my turnpike. I was actually happily teaching in my classroom, thinking that that is where I'd stay. It just really seemed like it needed to happen, and it wasn't happening soon enough.
Needed to happen and wasn't happening soon enough. Beautiful words from Mary Lee Bates. Another strong factor that leads students to end their schooling is the influence of their local community, their culture. For generations, indigenous peoples have struggled with assimilation without losing their native identity and their roots. In our next feature from KNME, New Mexico, we'll see a school program designed to support Native American students, help them manage and then master a challenge. Let's meet Mark Chino as he creates a new path for himself and for others to follow.
Arawa hopa hintawa kawesa ko kyami hansata Melissa Osanaya ko shaats asanich. My name is Mark Chino. I'm with the Eagle Clan. Melissa is my mother and Mark is my father. I go to Bernalillo High School. I live in Santana Pueblo, New Mexico.
Welcome everyone back to Bernalillo High School today. We had a fantastic day yesterday. Look forward to a great day today. Glad that you're here with us.
What's up, Mr. King?
I think one of the key factors that helps Mark overall is he is very resilient. He has a very positive attitude and a lot of confidence, and you really don't find that in a lot of Native kids. Here in New Mexico, we have 19 pueblos that all fall along the Rio Grande Valley. At Bernalillo High School, we cater to about 7 of those pueblos. The first exposure of education and schooling to the Native people was through boarding schools.
We bring them in, clean them up, and start them on their way to civilization.
School is losing your culture, being away from your family, losing your language.
From their state of comparative savagery and barbarism to one of civilization. Here, on the one hand, we have the Navajo as...
That's where the root issue, I feel and I believe, is where our kids are torn every day by coming to school.
The bus just came when you were going out the door. Okay.
How things have been done or what's happened in the past still influences greatly within our pueblos their perception on what's happening in our schools today. We've got to work collaboratively with the pueblos. It's not a Bernalillo High School job that we can do alone, and it's not a job that our pueblo can do alone. We've got to create an environment and a school culture where the students feel that they're part of it.
I'm one of those people. I have pride in who I am. I can't call myself Native American if I lose my language, my culture, because I'm losing my identity.
For Ishkasait, right? So they're always constantly carrying us, okay? Not so much in the basket, but spiritually, right? Okay, when does that happen? Anybody know?
End of the year.
At the end of the year? Or
if you don't have the student participating in their own education, if you don't have the school being an active participant in their education, and if you don't have a parent or an elder or a mom or a dad actively participating in that student's education, that student is never going to be successful.
That pot over there has got the green chilies, and then those cassava. I was all trying to remember the name of the Indian melons. Cassava melons, dang. As far as education, I really try to stay on top of him. I have a big support, my family here, my sisters, my mom. I couldn't do half of the stuff without them.
I live with my dad, my aunties, my sister, and my grandmother. My grandmother is, she's something, all right.
Oh yeah, yep, that's cool.
She pushes me, basically. That's what I want to say, because she does. She's like, are you sure you did this? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Are you sure? Are you sure that you did this? Let me see it.
Okay.
Just with a toothbrush, just dust them off because they look a little bit dusty.
How do we at Bernalillo High School create a culture on our campus for our Native kids to want to come to school?
I just went next door to my mom's house.
In order to create the culture in your school, you need to have the appropriate staff and people in place.
You got tea? You got new ones.
We take them on field trips. And I feel that's really important, bringing them out here, seeing what we've learned in the class. And I see that, the identity, who they are, and being proud of themselves as Tamaya, man. The parents to these kids, like Mark, some of them didn't have this opportunity where we're teaching them in school. The language, the traditions, the culture.
I have a lot of teachers, and I want to gain wisdom along with an education. So it's just a good feeling to know that you discovered that part of you, of yourself, and then you know that in the back of your mind, that's always going to be there.
For a student like Mark, it's important for him to never forget where he's from, be proud of where he is, and to be able to promote that within our school and be one of the leaders in our school.
Go, Mark, you got this group organized. Bravissimo.
I know that someday Mark will be a conduit for change in his own community.
2018.
As a sophomore, he is already showing his community that you can be different and you can still be successful.
He'll always know who he is. He'll always know who he is.
I want to get an education, maybe teach, and then come back here to the Pueblo and share what I have. My name is Mark Chino. I'm with the Eagle Clan. I live in Santa Ana, Pueblo, New Mexico.
And just as Mark Chino is headed to the future, strengthened by the heritage of his past, so is our next guest, a young man from SEO Scholars who we first met on American Graduate Day back in 2013. In our next segment, Jane Pauley catches up with Luis Hernandez now 2 years later. Let's see where life and school have taken him.
This is American Graduate Day's 4th annual broadcast. I'm Jane Pauley. During that time, this program has celebrated hundreds of incredible organizations and individuals. 2 years ago, we met a spunky kid from Brooklyn who was a member of SEO Scholars, a group that provides students with additional instruction time to prepare them for college and careers. Let's take a look back at Luis Hernandez in 2013.
So I'm from Red Hook, which is an industrial neighborhood in Brooklyn. And so where I'm from, you never really leave Red Hook. You're separated from the rest of the world by the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. And if you cross the BQE, you notice the peppers are greener and the tomatoes are brighter. And, and so when I came to SEO, it was sort of like me taking my first steps beyond the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway.
Luis, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Jane.
When you were last here, you were just about to start college at USC. How'd it go?
It's been the best 2 years of my life. I remember going to USC the very first day and being so scared, but I was really fortunate enough to have good people. And much like SEO, when I got to college, I had a really strong community. And I joined the salsa team. I made a lot of friends from different communities and cultures. And so I go Greek dancing, I celebrated Hanukkah, and I have been able to see beyond the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, like I said before, in that really old video of myself.
What are you doing with high school kids in USC area?
So I just recently launched an initiative called the FAT Initiative, which stands for Fitness Appreciation Team. I'm so passionate now about teaching kids how to love themselves because being 335 pounds in freshman year of high school, you definitely struggle with learning to love yourself. And I really want to give that inner strength to kids, not only in the outer USC community, but throughout the country. So I'm doing a bunch of different wellness activities and other activities that focus on self-appreciation and body image.
And you're still on track to graduate?
Yes, I am. I am majoring in narrative studies and minoring in cinematic arts. So I'm definitely interested in production. But my goal right now is to sort of be where you're sitting, Jane, in the future, and being able to communicate my story with people and being and people able to see me, and I get to taste my community, because my community has a lot of flavors to taste. I always go back to food somehow for me, but you know.
You have found your voice, indeed. It was great to catch up with you, Luis. Everyone here at American Graduate Day wishes you continued success.
Thank you, Jane.
Can't wait to see where he is in 10 years. Stay tuned for many more compelling student stories.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you, Luis. We may all be working for you sometime in the near future. You can see the difference the champions at SEO scholars have made in Luis's life. I'm happy to report that in the last hour, our total number of American Graduate champions has risen to an incredible, is this true? 3,981,460. Let's check in with Lauren Wanko and her guest, Harold Levy, from the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation. Hey, Lauren.
Thanks, Mary Alice. Harold, the foundation is all about advancing education of promising young students in financial need. How do you go about doing that?
We look all over the country for kids who have exceptional abilities and who come from backgrounds where they cry out for our help. It's been an extraordinary adventure of trying to find these kids. And part of it is looking to guidance counselors, looking to teachers. We look for the most exceptionally talented, high-performing, low-income, or at least moderate-income kids that we can find nationally.
And you've said you offer the largest scholarships?
We do. It's $40,000 is a last dollar scholarship in goods or services. We start in the 7th grade for high school, in the 12th grade for undergraduate years, and for transfer students from community colleges. So if you get it in 8th grade, that is 7th grade selected and 8th grade get it, you could potentially keep it all the way through grad school, and it's up to $40,000 a year. And in grad school, it actually jumps to $50,000. So it's easily $500,000.
How many scholarships do you award?
We give out annually about 250, and we have about 900 students at any given time. So the way to think about it is it's Rhodes Scholars for poor kids. And whereas the Rhodes is about 32 kids, 32 Americans a year going to Oxford, ours is about 235 kids going to anywhere in the world. In fact, we have 3 kids this year going to Oxford.
Quickly, as a former chancellor of the New York City schools, it must feel pretty good to be able to do this.
Oh, this is wonderful. I mean, you know, I must have done something pretty good in a former life to get this. The wonderful thing about it is the opportunity to find these kids and to put them in a direction.
Well, we'll have to have you back to talk more about it. So many wonderful things to talk about. Harold, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And for all of you at home, please continue the conversation on social media using #AmGrad. Follow American Graduate on Facebook and Twitter. And don't forget to visit our website, americangraduate.org. So much more ahead here on American Graduate Day.
Urban Dove uses an innovative approach to getting disinterested high schoolers back on track. I'm Jane Pauley. They re-engage students by having them do something they come to love, coaching younger kids. The students' self-worth and self-esteem quickly grows as this out-of-the-box program rekindles their interest in doing well in school. Let's take a look at the important work they're doing.
Urban Dove is a year-round program for at-risk youth in New York City. We're in the South Bronx, in East Harlem, and in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. We go out and we try to find high school students who, for whatever reason, are not finding success in school, whether it's academic, socially, emotionally, and then we train them to be mentors to younger students and younger children in their community.
When you shoot, try not to pause when you're right here. Just bring it up and...
They work after school in elementary and middle schools in their community, and they run after-school programs for younger students, and they coach them in sports, and they help them with their homework, and they teach them life skills. And through this mentorship program, we transform the high school students in the way that they look at themselves, in the skills that they have, and we create brighter futures for them by helping them to graduate high school, go to college, and ultimately graduate from college.
I've been in Urban Dove for going on 11 years. I joined when I was in 3rd grade, and I've been here ever since. Whoa, that's good, sis! I'm a youth staff, and that basically means make sure the kids have fun, make sure they're educated, make sure they're involved.
Urban Dove isn't really a sports program. What we're really about is youth development. Sports is simply the vehicle that we use to teach the kids those skills, to reinforce those skills, to get them excited and energized about joining our program. But really the work is around giving them critical life skills that they're gonna need to be successful.
When I was smaller, I was like bullied for my size, and I was really quiet, so I really didn't speak up for myself. But when I joined Urban Dove, it was like a family that I had, because nobody made fun of each other. It was all just having fun, doing your work, and going home at the end of the day.
It make me want to listen more to my teachers. Look, remember, only 3 steps before you pass. You know, if the kids not listening to me, I can understand what the teachers go through in the classroom setting.
We ask them to play this coaching role, this mentoring role, and no skills required, anybody can try it, and they really have success. And these little kids come running up to them at 3 o'clock and give them a big hug and say, "We're so glad to see you. What are we doing today? What's the plan?" And that sort of unconditional love, it makes them feel really good about themselves. And they feel like, you know what, if I can be successful doing this, I can be successful at math, I can be successful at school. There's no reason why I can't. And that confidence transforms everything that they do.
Working with the kids has made me want to come to class, and it makes me want to go to a higher level. I think I mean a lot to the kids, because if you don't interact with them, or if you don't show them a way, they're not going to know. They look up to you as a role model, so you have to provide a lot for them.
I'm the principal at the Urban Assembly School for Careers in Sports. Urban Dove has been in our schools for 7 years now. Our students actually get selected to go and work with little ones. Now they are the people in charge. And a lot of them actually come my way and they say, "Oh, John, it's not easy being a teacher. It's not easy being in charge." So, you know, like giving them a sense of responsibility, that's one of the biggest things that we've been able to see.
Today for your journal writing, the questions you're going to be answering is, what do you see in your dreams?
Throughout the whole school year, we do AEP, Academic Enrichment Project. When I teach the workshops, it's like our 3 main core things that we teach here is leadership, communication, teamwork. They might not see it, but it actually helps them grow. They're learning these skills without even knowing that they're learning them.
So the first question is, what do you see in your dreams?
Oh, I see a lot of weird things in my dreams. Urban Dove taking me on college tours made me see what my future could look like.
They get everything from what is college to SAT prep to one-on-one counseling, overnight college tours, a scholarship fund, and even once they're in college, we visit them on campus. We provide support services all the way through to graduation. They realize now that they've always had the potential to graduate high school and go to college, and it's always been there, and they just need to apply themselves.
Most of my family dropped out of high school. Even my mom, she dropped out of school in 9th grade to take care of her family. And I'd actually be the first one in my generation of my family to go to college. So Urban Dove put me on that track, and I'm sincerely grateful that they did, because without it, I honestly don't know where I would be.
So it motivated me more. It's like I came and I saw the school, I know I want to go there, so this is what I'm gonna do to actually make that happen.
When I first started high school, I thought my future was going to be rough. But then once I got to Urban Dove, everything changed for me. I'm looking for college, and I'm looking to go to the next step in my life.
I think we've hit upon a model that's clearly shown that it can be successful. And so now the question is, how do we raise more money so we can have more programs to serve more kids, both here in New York City as well as across the country?
American Graduate Day is a live, nationwide outreach event